Heritage Sports Podcast. We are here to break down the last episode of Coach Prime on Amazon Prime with episode 4. It starts off with a bang. It starts off with an immediate dismissal of number 6, who's listed as John Huggins on their roster. It was intense. It starts with Coach Deion talking to everybody in the meeting room, and he's saying, a member of our family keeps messing up. And he says this is the second or third time it's happened. It's so tense in there you cut it with a knife. And he's taking feedback from coaches, from players, from equipment people. And then all of a sudden he says, you know what, we're gonna have a vote. And they never say specifically what the kid did or the family member did at the time. He just said, okay, who wants this person to stay? A few people stood up. Who wants this person to leave? And at this point, almost all of the room stands up. And to me, most of the people knew who they were talking about. And I don't know what was said or did. What was intimated to me was the kid was talking bad about the program outside of the walls. And maybe this is the second or third time that happened. Again, I'm estimating. I don't know this for a fact, but that's what it seemed like. That's what it felt like. And all the people stood up, and then they sat down. And Deion said, look, it's over. It's done. You are done. The person stands up. He says, that's the family member. He gets up, walks out of the meeting room. You never see him again. I mean, a riveting start to episode 4. I was just like, wow. So from there, they go to the Jackson State Southern game during the season. This is not the SWAC Championship, but it's the first game that they play, and ESPN Gameday is there. It's just fantastic. Game Day hadn't been an HBCU game in decades, and this was, they brought in Coach Deion as the celebrity game picker. He came in, picked his games, and it was just a great environment, showing people not only where the attention should be and how we always deserved to have this kind of attention at a HBCU, and bringing that light to HBCUs and that specific game. Jackson State and a very, very good Southern University team. I mean, a legacy HBCU. So, it was, he started singing the song, Who is SWAC, baby? So that was cool. I love that part. But moving on, they asked, Deion straight up. They was like, look, Coach Prime, if another college comes calling, are you going to entertain it? And he says, of course I will. I'm going to have to. But he then retreated to his talking points of, I got to keep the main thing, and I'm going to dominate the current moment. Now, to me, I felt like that at that point, it wasn't always forthright. He knew, teams had either made offers or were extremely interested in next steps with him. But then they move on to the Southern game. It was a rainy game. They were pretty dominant. And then they had a interesting dynamic with a cornerback on the team. His last name is Bolden. It was just an interesting dynamic. I'm just bringing it up because you might want to check it out, because his dad was in the NFL, and they came and they did a nice little segment between him and his mom and his stepdad and him and going back. But I thought it was worth noting, just modern families and what they go through, especially when the kids are athletes. Then they move right into the ring ceremony for the SWAC Championship. Now, this was the SWAC Championships from 2021, not the one they won, but from last year. It was great to see. These kids finally worked hard, and their rings finally came in, and they were so excited. And everyone came up one by one, and they were huge rings, and they were these big gold rings saying, with JSU's label on it, saying, you are the champions of the SWAC for 2021. And it was great to see the kids' faces light up. And the pendant, it was so super cool. So the keystone of the ring, there's a gold plate on top of the ring. It could twist off, and it came with a complimentary gold chain, so you could wear the ring as a pendant. It was beautiful, beautiful. But then, of course, this is how the series goes. They just jump into the next game. The next game was against Alabama A&M, and that was a dogfight. This is the first time I didn't see this game, so I don't really recall it. Shedeur took a big hit. Boom. He got knocked out. He was knocked unconscious and concussed. Coach Deion went to dad at that point and helping him out, getting him back on his feet. He didn't finish the game, but Jackson State ended up winning. But that you could tell that was a hard hitting game, and they were able to get out of there. So that was confirmed. Shedeur had a concussion. Then they showed Travis Hunter having a pick six and a receiving touchdown. Kids, incredible. Then they go to the Alcorn State game. It was a tough game. They just jump around a whole lot in this series. But more importantly, they go to the SWAC Championship. They cover that. They say everything that happened, and they talk about. They go through the ceremony. They go through halftime, all that other great stuff, right? But then they cover he was offered the Colorado job. They don't say when he was offered it, but they know he was offered it. And as soon as the SWAC Championship ended, he talked to his players, and that was disappointing. You know, he kept saying, when you win, people are going to want you, all right? And I'm going to make sure I get to the other offers he confirmed in the Amazon Prime thing. So after the SWAC Championship, it was a tough letdown to me because Jackson State had won. These kids on the top of their careers at this point, 2-time SWAC championships, and it was a tough letdown right after the SWAC championship was given to them to have an emergency meeting. And you could tell by the faces, certain players knew. You know, they knew Deion was going and where he was going. Travis Hunter knew, to me, you see it in his face. He wasn't happy. He did. It wasn't happy or sad. It was just he knows what was going on. Shedeur knew. The offensive coordinator knew. And it was quite a frank conversation, and that he had to tell the kids. Now, it ended up being great because, like I said, most of the kids knew, and they just wanted to say they appreciated Deion and Coach Prime for doing what he's done. But, you know, in that conversation when he's sitting on the stage with him and his athletic director, you could tell that this has been weeks in the making, if not months in the making. Nobody just offers you a job 5 minutes after, you know, you win a SWAC championship. These things are courting. You know, it takes months of interest, checking in. It's not just here's your job. So, you know, that's the only thing in the series that wasn't forthright at times. I wish they would have said when the courting began, you know, when do you make his decision? Because his decision wasn't a SWAC championship game. It seemed to be weeks before that or days before that. It wasn't that day. But he like I said, I promise you, he went through his different clips of him getting asked the same question: when are you going to leave Jackson, or are you going to leave Jackson? Do you want to stay at Jackson State? And over again, he said he's keeping the main thing. Went over his offers, and the offer he confirmed was Colorado, and he confirmed South Florida. So those two teams were confirmed. He alluded to some others, and to me, the way he alluded to it was there was some interest feelers, like the University of Cincinnati reach out, the Georgia Tech reach out and say, hey, if you're interested, you'll have the job, or you're interested, you'll have an inside track to the job, which could have happened. Totally could have happened, but he didn't name those. He just specifically listed South Florida and Colorado. Also, we got a Shilo appearance. He finally talked. He finally put words to his injury. He said he tore his ACL in the spring, and he was finally getting back. It was great to just finally see him have a voice on the episode and let people know what he was doing. It was a great scene between him and Shedeur, just eating, talking about, you know, being back and what to eat and sharing that kind of moment. So that was great. That was great. Oh, also the candid things. So after everything went down, with Coach Prime going to Colorado, they showed different player interviews. And Travis Hunter said he declared before the series ended he was going to follow Prime whether he stays or leaves. So to me, I appreciate him going to transfer portal, seeing if he could have another deal. But out of his own mouth, out of his own words, he basically said wherever Coach was going to go, I was going to go. So if he would have went to South Florida, he would have went to South Florida. If he would have went to I don't know, Georgia Tech, he would have went to Georgia Tech. So to me, that was a set thing, and that's something we can put to bed now that Travis Hunter was rolling with Coach Prime no matter where he went. Okay. And that was basically it. That was the end of the episode, and they kind of ended on that. They didn't show any, private jet, to Boulder, anything like that. You can find all that stuff online. But my overall reaction to the series, it was nice. It was a 4 episode inside look to the series. I wish there was more game film because the cameras they used were insane. They were incredible. Um, but my overall feeling on the series was good, feel good stuff, but it was overly produced. You could tell it's a one sided narrative. I would like to have comments or commentary from people that weren't on the show, like players that weren't featured or detailed on the show, just to see how they reacted to the season and how they received news that Coach Prime was leaving or just his tenure there at Jackson. It was a lot of feel good stuff. The Barstool stuff, the Barstool series was more raw, of course, with his health and things of that nature, but there were more insights on players not buying into what they wanted to do. They had to kick more players off, and you knew the reasons why they were getting kicked off, or you knew the reasons why they were fighting in practice. It was a little bit more. It was way more polished on this season. Either way, it was good. Either way, it was again showcasing HBCUs and what they can do and how you can leverage your relationships, whether with Michael Strahan, with Snoop, with Dolph, with different just companies and brands that you can use and help put HBCUs on the next level or help them take the next step towards the next level. And then showcasing homecoming, like I said before, it's a big deal to a lot of HBCUs, whether it's Southern University, whether it's Jackson State, whether it's Grambling, whether it's Howard. These things are legendary and things people look forward to because of the history. And I think the series did a great justice on what HBCUs are, what it could be, and what it is to come. Again, this is wrapping up the series on Amazon Prime. I think Coach Prime did nothing wrong. When I tell you, I really was surprised he coached the Celebration Bowl. Typically that doesn't happen, but he stayed. He stayed through people's negativity, adversity, and gave them an opportunity to talk to him whenever they needed to. So I thought that was very admirable by him. And let's just face it, it was a good opportunity. It is a great opportunity. He's going to a Power Five conference. That doesn't just happen every day, especially from the HBCU. That's never happened before. So I think people should be excited for him. Not only be excited for him, but acknowledge the things he did do while he was there. Transformed that program, put them on the map, had ESPN Gameday there, all these partnerships there, helping kids, and it wasn't about just him, it was about the kids. I wish it wasn't as much monetization, but here we are. We're talking about this Amazon series, and it is what it is. The last thing I want to say, I hope he does well in Colorado. I know he's taking a lot of talent from Jackson State with him, whether it's the Travis Hunters, the Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Shilo. Shilo had his video up the other day. He's going to Boulder as well to join his brother and his sister. So, a lot of, and Matta, the kickers, he's heading up to Colorado as well, and the coaching staff, a lot of them. So he's taken a lot of the enrichment out of Jackson State, which I acknowledge, which kind of made them who they are in the last 2-3 years. But as he's talked about, Coach Brown said the blueprint is there. If you bring in coaches and keep this kind of program, you can stay where status quo and hopefully find a way to take a next step and just be dominant year in, year out without a question, and finally win the Celebration Bowl and be the top dogs of the SWAC and over the MEAC. I'm trying to think. And stop hating on the man. Like you said, what Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. said. I hope he don't get a Power 5 job. What else are you hating for? If you had a job that paid you $10 more an hour or $10 more thousand in salary, you going. Ain't no doubt about that. So stop, understand, and relish the man's opportunity And I hope everyone enjoyed the series, especially if you didn't have Amazon Prime. I hope I explained it in a way that you can see it. And whenever you get a chance to watch it, you'll see the pieces that I laid to it. And then people who have seen it can can listen to my reaction. And whether you agree with it or not, let me know in the comments. Heritage Sports. Until next time.